Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to the November 2024 LAPPG meeting. I'm Wendy, and we're thrilled to have you here with us tonight. We have new Fairlight features in DaVinci Resolve 19. I am so excited to welcome our good buddy, Mary Plummer from Blackmagic Design. Hello, Mary.
Hello, how are you? It's good to
I
be here.
Oh, we're happy
It's
to
been
have
a little
you.
while. So it's
And I was just looking at that. It looks like 2022 was the last.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's all right because we have these, we have big batches of new features. So it's nice to come in every couple of years and show off some of those things.
Awesome. So I'm going to have everybody, if you have questions for Mary, put them in the Q&A, and then at the end, we're going to pull some of them and just start firing them at her. And as many as she can answer, she will. And yeah, if you can take it away, we appreciate it, Mary. Thanks for being here.
I will attempt to take it away soon. So, all right. Theoretically, you should now have my screen in front of you, and I'm hoping that's the case. For those of you who have never worked with DaVinci Resolve, this is a great time to try it out. There is a free version of DaVinci Resolve. You can download it. I'm going to be focusing on the audio features for this workshop, but obviously there is a full post-production solution when you're working with DaVinci Resolve. And so I'm just going to point to that really quickly. Just a day ago, they released DaVinci Resolve 19.1. So it's the first big update since 19 was released. The beta was released at NAB last year in April, and then it came out in September, and now there is a 19.1 just released with even more features. And so I'm super excited because this is the first time I've had a chance to actually demo and show people some of these awesome new things. So as we go through this, beyond just what's in 19, I'll be showing you some of the new things in 19.1. Now, Wendy asked me to mention the difference between the free version of DaVinci Resolve and the studio version. 90% of what you need to do is in the free version that you can download right off of the blackmagicdesign.com website and start working with it right away. The studio version, which is a one-time purchase of $295, and what's different about that one, that would be for working with the immersive formats like Ambisonic, Dolby Atmos, MPEG-H, Sony WalkMix, all those different immersive formats. You would need to have the studio version. You would also need it if you're working with some of our AI tools. So as I go through my demo today, I will call out which things require studio and which don't, but just be aware that the free version does not have track limitations. You can have mix up to 7:1. You can do 7:1 mixes, 5:1 stereo, any of those type of mixing you can do in the free version. You can use all of our native plugins and processing effects. And so there's a lot you can do right out of the box, no cost of any kind. And so just to get started, and like I said, I've got about 4 hours of stuff to show you in 40 minutes. So I'm going to rock and roll through as many features as I can plow through. And then, of course, Wendy, jump in if one of you has a question that you're just dying to ask me right then. If not, I'll try to save a few minutes at the end for questions as well. And just in case you wondered, I am currently working on the updated book for the Fairlight courseware, the DaVinci Resolve, the official courseware that we use for training certification at Blackmagic Design. And so we're working on finishing up that entire series of books, which are also free, that you can download and work through so that you can learn a lot of these features on your own. So this is DaVinci Resolve. If you are unfamiliar with what this looks like, I am on the Fairlight page, which is the built-in DAW or digital audio workstation. This is LAPPG, so I know that you guys come from all different ends of post-production or production. So I'll just point out really quickly across the bottom, when you're working in DaVinci Resolve, you will see there's all the different pages of the software. So it's as if you have all of the different applications you need, but all built into one piece of software, DaVinci Resolve. So, and it's all collaborative as well. So you can have an entire team working on a show or a film all at one time, different rooms, different systems, and all connecting back and forth, either by cloud or through their LAN network as well. So the media page, just to show you, this is where you can access all of your media and you can sync and organize things. So this is where the DITs would be working to put together all of the media and sync the dailies and do things for the show. There are two different wrong button, two different editing pages. We have the cut page, which is like a really fast way of working, whether it's multicam or live action or whatever it happens to be, for quickly cutting together a show and getting it out. We also have the edit page, which is our basically, it's a full nonlinear editor, which you could do anything from cutting trailers and promos all the way up to feature films, TV shows, you name it. It's done here in the edit page. The Fusion page is where you do visual effects, full 3D, stereoscopic, you name it. Like I said, this is where you can do your compositing, your particle systems, and all of that is done right here in the Fusion page. Then we have the color page, which a lot of people are familiar with, where you can color grade your shows. What the show I happen to have right now up is a feature film called Too Much Life, and I have some example scenes from that. It was done entirely in DaVinci Resolve. And as you can see, there are all of those different shots. Notice that I'm not having to send the media anywhere. I'm just going from one page to the other. I'm now going to Fairlight, which is our DAW. This is the built-in digital audio workstation where I'll be showing you the features today for DaVinci Resolve 19 and 19.1. And like I said, as needed, I will call out anything that happens to be new. Now, for those of you who actually work with DaVinci Resolve, I do have the download of DaVinci Resolve 19.1 loaded right now. And one of the things you'll see immediately that's different in 19.1 is it's much easier to identify the names of your clips in the timeline. As you can see, there's a very nice highlighted little license plate of name right there that's easy to read. So just pointing that out as something that's new. There it is. But what's even better is showing off some of those other tools that we have. So I'm going to break into some of our AI tools first, or some of those track effects that we have, because that was really a big new thing. And then I would, like I said, show as many features as I can in the minutes that I have. So I'm going to start out and just open up the media pool where I have an assortment of timelines. And I'm just going to point out we have different track effects that I'm going to show off. The media pool is where we store the media. The mixer is where you can see things that might be applied in the mixer, processing, that sort of thing. Up here at the top, you can see in my monitoring panel, this is the viewer. I'll make it a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see what I'm looking at. And what I'm going to show you is this is the trailer, and I'm just going to play the beginning of the trailer. And the first effect that I want to show is our music remixer. Now, these track effects can be applied. Some of them can be applied to a clip, and some of them are applied only to a track. And so in this particular situation, the music remixer, and I will show it to you, select a music track, and I'll just play the beginning of this, and then I'll actually show you in action how the music remixer works. So I'm just going to play the very beginning.
My name is Harper Hudson, and I go to Garden Island School. My followers always ask, how did you become president?
Okay, you get the idea, right? Trailer, beginning, you hear the music, you hear how everything all works together, great. But in this situation, at the last minute, they want to swap out the music, and instead of using the music that's in there for that opening sequence, they want to try something new. Brand new artist has a big release, and they're thinking this might work. But of course, there's not much time, and we have a screening like right now. And so this is an opportunity to try out our music remixer. And I'm going to I have two music tracks. The original music track is this one right here. I've just muted it temporarily. And I'm turning on my alternate music track. And if I play it, got that drum beat going.
My name is Harper Hudson, and I go to Garden Island School. And
you can hear those vocals are right there clashing with the dialogue or the voiceover in the trailer. So obviously the music may work, but we can't tell because the dialogue's in the way. And I don't have time to get another mix or a different version of this from the composer. And so here's what we need to do is I just have the track selected that I'm working with, and I'm going to go over to the inspector. And the inspector will show you an individual clip, or it will show you a track. And in fact, in DaVinci Resolve 19, for those of you who already use it, there's an easy button now that will show you if you're looking at different controls for the track or for the clip. This is the track here, and it'll show me the name of the track. If I click over here, it will be the clip. These are all controls for the clip that are built in. So I'm going to go to the track. It's my alternate music track, and these are different things I can adjust. The volume, I have all of these different track effects, and they are our AI track effects that we can apply to that track. In this case, I just want to try the music remixer right there. So I'm just going to switch it on, which gives me some controls right here in the inspector, but I'm going to then open this up. And by the way, the music remixer does require DaVinci Resolve Studio, so I will point that out right now. And some of the things I'll be showing you again will work in the free version and vice versa. So once I bring up the music remixer for that track, I will turn it on. Just make sure it's on. Notice it gives you different options: voice, drums, bass, guitar, and other. Other would be anything from keys to background, heavily processed background vocals or strings or something that doesn't fit in any of those other categories. And this is really listening to the music and isolating those different parts all with AI so that you can then remix it literally or break it out however you need to. So in this case, I'll just start playback again, and you will see me dial down that voice. First, I'll turn it down, and then I'll just mute it, okay? So here we go.
My name is Harper Hudson, and I go to Garden Island School. My followers always ask,
I can also mute it.
become president.
Background vocals too if I want to.
Well, I have a good plan.
So you have a meeting with the president of the art.
And you can also do things like mute the drums, or I can mute anything else. But if I need an instant karaoke version of something, this I can do, and it's pretty easy. Now, you notice there's no dog button, unfortunately. And so I'm unable to mute my dog who's in the room next door looking out the window. But hey, you get the idea of how this works and how quickly that works. And like I said, I could roll that all the way through. I could bounce a new version of the mix without the voice, or just with the voice turned down. I can even automate that if I want to. So because this is so cool, I'm going to show you another example of that. Hide that in the inspector. Let me just show you another example, because I find this to be useful in so many ways, including creating your when you're splitting your M&E and you've got some sound effects built into your dialogue that are there and you can't get them out, but you would really like some of those sounds, you can use the music remixer to mute the voice and still leave some of those sounds in the background, which is a nice time saver. But right here, I've got a scene. This is a finished baked scene, same movie, which has music, sound effects, and dialogue all happening at the same time. And like I said, as we're going through this, they're going, wow, is there any chance we can adjust the bass? And if someone just wants to hear it and just get an idea if it would sound better, if we could take the bass down, maybe punch up the drums, or just kind of adjust that mix really quickly, you can go through and mock that up now, and then you can always deal with it with the composer later on. But this is a really quick way to do that. So again, I am just going to apply that music remixer to the track. Let's try that on the track itself. There it is, my music remixer. Now I can also access it right here in the mixer as well. Again, I'll turn that on. And so for this scene, I'll just play that through.
Out of focus.
They're talking. You notice this has one of those kind of Seinfeld or capery kind of plotting drums that make it sound like people are sneaking around doing something. And so I'm just going to play a little bit with the bass and drums on this while they're talking.
No wave.
Go back. That
I
one.
just took down the bass.
It's in focus. You're standing, and there's a wave.
Okay,
Just took down the drums.
make
I
way.
notice I have automation turned on. So whatever I just did, because I had automation turned on and it's set to latch mode, I actually just recorded my changes.
Go back. That one. It's
As
in
you can
focus.
see.
You're standing, and there's a wave.
Okay.
Nice, right? And so again, incredibly useful, all the different things you could do. You can even go into a piece of music that you have, and let me just open up, like say from a music video. Obviously, this is as obvious as you can get with an example, but I'll turn on the music remixer for this one as well. And this time I'm not going to automate it, but I am going to show you that I could actually create, as long as I have, again, don't need to automate this, as long as I have my music remixer turned on. Let's say I just want to strip out the voice and maybe the guitar and just lead drums and bass. And I need that version because they're going to use that for some of the, a couple of scenes. That's all they want to use kind of as a background sound. Or music. And so it's like, okay, sure, I can do that. I just need to play it. Here's the song. Skipping ahead. Okay, and there's the vocals. So you can hear it. I'm going to kill the vocals, guitar. So now all we have is drums and bass. And from that, if I wanted to, I could mark this clip and I can actually bounce this out if I wanted to, as is. So I could create a different kind of stem or something else I could work with. And I'll just show you how easily I could do that right here. From the timeline menu, bounce this mix to a new track. And I will tell it to go to a new track and done. And so now I'm working with a fairly slow computer. This is like a iMac from 2017. So it's probably slower than most of you guys with newer computers. However, as you can see, I am spitting out a new AI generated version of this song, especially if I needed this in some other place. So I will let this particular feature go after this example, but I did want to point out to you, done. There it is. I just created a new version. And this is actual media, so I could have shared this with someone if this was an immersive, not immersive, but if this was a collaborative project and someone was said, hey, is there any way you can get me an instrumental version of this? I could spit that out and they would already have it because it would appear in this project and update their system as well. So that is, like I said, that's one of the more very exciting features that we have. So I wanted to point that one out. Let's look at a couple others of the new features that we have. And like I said, as I come across some of those DaVinci Resolve 19.1 things, I will also point them out. One of the things that we have is, let's go to our, since we're looking at our track effects, let's get our dialogue separator. Just open up an example. Dialogue separator is a little bit different than what we've already had in the past. And I'll just point that out over here. On the right-hand side, when you're working with tracks, we already had voice isolation. If I turn on voice isolation for a track, we got the voice isolation showed up in DaVinci Resolve 18. And what made that special is it's a single knob, and it basically is going to remove anything but the voice.
Real leader.
As you can hear, this is super
I
clean.
remember birthdays.
But sometimes that's too much. And like I said, you can dial it back and leave a little bit of that background, but it is a single knob solution. If there's something that you really need to clean out completely, it's almost like resampling the voice, right? And that's all done with AI. But instead of voice isolation, the one I wanted to show you was the new one, which is dialogue separator. I will turn that on and just open it up so you can see the controls. There it is. And with the dialogue separator, what makes this one cool is that it does give you options to adjust the voice separate from the background, separate from the ambience, or like the reverberance in the room. So if you happen to have someone talking in a very echoey space, or there's a lot of reverb or something like that, you can dial that down separately from other noises in the background, like somebody tap dancing or making noise or whatever happens to be there, you can adjust it. It's also great when you're working on, let's say, documentary films where you have someone, let's say a government official who's saying something incredibly important, and you can't stop them because there's an airplane, or you can't stop them because there's a truck backing up outside the window and there's that nice beeping sound that we all know and love. But I can dial that out instantly and still leave the space, still leave that room presence there. And so let me just show you.
When you vote Jamie Woods,
Here you can hear this is a little bit roomy.
a real.
I'm just turning up the background.
I remember birthdays.
You can kind of hear how noisy that is. So I'm going to pull that background down just by pulling down the background
You
knob.
vote Jamie Woods. You vote a real.
So I clean that up. And also the ambience, I'm going to crank that up.
I remember.
You can hear how echoey that is, right? Or not necessarily echoey, but
When you
obviously a lot more reverb than we need.
vote a real leader.
And like I said, I can clean that up too. So you can dial these and automate them, or you can leave it as is. It also gives you an opportunity, if the voice is a little low in the background, you can bring that up and so on. So that is our dialogue separator. Super easy to use. Again, that is one of the studio features that does require DaVinci Resolve Studio, but it is incredibly useful. Let's jump into another one that we have is our Ducker. Now, the Ducker is part of our free version, so I'm always happy to show you free stuff. This is a scene from the same film. In this case, the ducker is just going to do the work of the keyframes that you may do. And there's a million ways to duck sound. We all have done it before. We also have fully robust sidechain compression now, where you can use buses for your sidechain as well as using different tracks. But in this case, the ducker is just built right in. And one of the new things that they added in DaVinci Resolve 19.1 was the ability to, let me zoom in a little bit, to use more than one source track. So I'm going to change the scale of this stuff a little bit if I can. There we go. And in this case, in the inspector, I'm going to play a little bit of the scene. The music's going to be a little bit too loud. And so what I want to do, it's a little too loud, even though it's really moving along with the dialogue. And we have two characters speaking and they are on two different tracks. And so what we'll do is first I'll play a little bit of it with the music and then we will turn on the ducker.
Hey,
There's also sound effects and other things.
hey. We're gonna be okay.
And especially if I come down here to this part.
Will you teach me?
And so you can tell the music is just stepping over the dialogue just a bit. And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to solo these tracks. The tracks are the dialogue and that music track. So I have two dialogues, one music, and I'm going to solo those. So we're only focused on those right now. And I'm going to turn the ducker on. So I've selected my music track right here. Just by clicking on that, it's showing up here in the inspector. Now, I could also turn this on over here, just so you know, in the mixer if I wanted to. One of the choices we have in the mixer is the ability to show our visible track effects, and I could tell it to show me things like the music remixer or the ducker, and it will totally show me any of those that I choose to show. Let me turn on the ducker here. There it is. And now the ducker is showing. By default, you'll see all of the track effects that you have available in your system, whether it's the free version or the paid version, and you will have that right here. And there's my ducker. So I can totally turn this on here and even open it here if I wanted to. In this example, though, I'd like to actually do it. I'm going to turn it off from the mixer. And I want to show it here in the inspector because to use the new multiple tracks to feed the ducker that we have available in 19.1, you do need to do it over here in the inspector, at least at this time. So in the inspector, there's my ducker. I'm going to turn it on for the track. And if you look at your controls, right here's the ducker, and it tells me my source is dialogue 1. It's the default is that first track. And then I'm going to go ahead and I need to add a second track. There's 2 dialogue tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus button. And now there's dialogue 2, as you can see. So now I have both sources available. You also see that the default duck level is going to be 2.7. So it's a modest amount. It's not going to take out too much of the music. And then, of course, you can always increase that. So again, the big new thing is that I can add as many source tracks as I want to just right here in the inspector. I'm going to go ahead and open up my ducker so you can see it. There it is. And the ducker will give you a visual. And notice it says dialogue 1 plus. That means more than one track. And these are the default settings. So I haven't changed anything else. So if I play it, and let's just back it up a little bit here. There we go. I'm just going to start with Dad's main line of dialogue and then hers. And we'll start playback.
We're gonna be okay.
Okay. The one thing I need to do is I do want to make sure that I have turned on the ducker for that track in both places. I have. Okay, so we should be all right. Let's go ahead and play that.
We're gonna be okay.
And you can see there's the duck pattern. You can see it right there. And then we'll see hers. It's subtle, but it works.
Well, will you teach me how to surf?
Okay, and that's going to be very subtle. Notice it kind of drops the music while she's talking, and then it kind of slowly comes back in. But you could totally adjust this, so I can actually make it, duck it even more, and you have a lot of control. So my look ahead, if I want it to look ahead, let's say a whole lot, I'm going to just ruin this for a minute. I'm going to make it look more like a fade, dropping down the music. It'll be more obvious, but this way you'll see, like, look ahead is going to be half a second now, 500 milliseconds. I'm going to, the rise time, I'm going to make it kind of lazy for the rise time. We're going to have it hold for quite some time. And then the recovery is going to be pretty long as well. And then, you could do up to a second of recovery. That's getting back to the, main level. And then let's just back this up and you'll see this will sound wars.
Will you teach me how to surf?
And as you can see, if I stop this, you can see now it drops down and comes back up. That's more maybe what you might do if you were doing it manually. But like I said, you have all those controls you might want. I'm just going to reset this back to the standard controls. If I didn't reset it, you can also, anytime you make an adjustment to a control, you can double click on it and it will reset it. So if you ever go, oh, wait, what did I do? How do I put it back? If you want to go back to default, again, it's a double click and there it is. Okay, so that's my Ducker. Let's keep moving. I'm going back over to the media pool. So again, Ducker works in the free version. Let's look at something else that's pretty cool. That's our auto pan. I'm going to jump into the auto pan and I'm just going to open up a simple video shot of two airplanes flying right now. And this is nothing spectacular. This is someone who's recording with whatever camera they had, probably their phone, from a boat of an air show. We've all seen stuff like this, right? We've all recorded things like this, but it is an example of how I can use, it's just a visual that you'll be able to watch as I show the auto pan. And for the panning does not require any of our track effects. Instead, what it's going to use is our panner. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this so you can hear it. It's just a stereo track. Right? And since it's a Zoom, who knows what the sound is like on your end. So let's just assume it's the sound, but like I said, it's just whatever is picked up. You're not really going to get a whole lot of movement with the sound, but our eyes can see that they're moving. And so I'm going to open up our panner. This is the panner. Now with DaVinci Resolve 19, in addition to just having our panner, as you can see, a standard stereo panner where I can pan left or right. As something else that I can do, and let me set this to not show any automation at the moment, is we now have a 3D button. It's very easy. You turn that on and now it will show me a 3D version of what I'm looking at. And it will show me the two speakers. It is stereo, so I can see that this is panned wide. For the stereo, hard left and hard right. So I'm panning this really wide, and then there's just going to be a little bit of movement there, maybe, if I pan it. So one of the choices is I'm going to go ahead and just adjust the spread and just tighten that up because it is a smaller sound. So there we go. As you can see, let me set that to none. There's my spread. And as you can see, I'm just going to tighten it up because those planes aren't that big. I'm going to add a little divergence to them as well to represent, their sound. And that way, as this moves from one speaker to the other, it'll be a little more interesting. We'll hear it more dynamically in our ears as well as we pan. Now, anyone who does automation, we can automate in the track and set keyframes and adjust it that way. We can automate by turning on our automation and drag things around here or adjust knobs or use a mixer. But what's unique here is we actually have the ability to pan right in the viewer using visuals. So I'm actually going to close this at the moment. I'm going to select this track. I'm going to come over here to my viewer and we have some controls on the viewer. And if I turn it on, then we have tracker controls right here. Now, those of you working with DaVinci Resolve in the past or who already know and saw the little demo I showed you at the very beginning that DaVinci Resolve includes editing and color grading and visual effects and 3D and all of that sort of thing. Well, on the Fairlight page, we can now leverage some of that power right here. So we can combine the visual with the sound. And we're using AI to do that. And so right here, I'm just clicked show the tracker controls. As you can see, I'll bring those up. One of the choices is auto. Now, I will tell you that the auto pan does require the studio version. That is the paid version. However, you can use these controls and manually pan right by using visuals and pan, and I will show you how to do that as well. So for the auto pan, I need to choose the parameters. Now, as these get crossed, I can do, if I turn on auto, it's going to allow me to do, at the moment, left, right, and up and down. Because this is a two-dimensional image, there isn't really a front back happening here, and we don't have that kind of depth in this shot. So I can cheat it or automate that later, but at this point, it's just left, right, and basically moving up and down. And so that's what we're going to go with. I will select both of those parameters. I can choose any frame I want to start with, where I want the tracking to start. And as long as I have marked the clip, which I have, I've marked a range here, and I have selected the track, notice the name of the tracker right there is Planes. It's not because it recognizes planes, it's because the track name is Planes. If the track name was Bob, this would say Bob. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my tracker to one of those airplanes. I'll move it to this one here, right there. And as long as it can see that airplane all the way across, then it will continue to track. So, and it will track forward and backward. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button, which will set my auto tracking. And in theory, this should work. I say in theory because this is Zoom. And every now and then when I zoom things, you never know what's going to happen. So if I play a little bit of this, notice the tracker's moving with the plane. Let's open up my panner and you'll be able to see I didn't automate anything, right? I'm going to go back to the beginning and you'll see there's my tracker. And in my panner, you can see it actually moving here. And by the way, when you're working with our new panner, you also have the ability, when you're looking in 3D, to change the perspective. So I can see it from the side, I can see it from above, I can see it from behind, but at slightly askew. And I can also hold down my middle mouse button or all of the different modifier keys, and I'm able to kind of adjust it to see it in any position I want. And let's just notice there goes the plan. There's moving. So obviously that panning worked and I did nothing, and it took us all of seconds to do that, even on my really slow Mac, right? And then here's a new feature. If I want to see that automation curve, the actual what they did, and see that curve in the timeline, I could come all the way over here and choose which parameter I want to see, like my left, right, or my up, down, and it will show me those are the two curves that it did automatically for me. I'm going to set this back to none because now that we have DaVinci Resolve 19.1, any parameter that I click, whether it's on one of our plugins or processing or even here on the panner, if I just right click on that parameter, it automatically shows me that automation curve. So there is my left, right. If I click again, it turns it off. So it shows it or doesn't. And here is my up, down, and I can jump back and forth to those really easily. So not bad, right? And so that's something that you can do really easily. So now that I've shown you that, which is kind of exciting, I'm going to clear that track automation and just show you, reset, that I could do this manually if I wanted to. Let's do front, back. If you wanted to do manual pan, you would turn off auto pan, which I just did. You can still see that here is there you can see I have my tracker. I can move it around manually. And one of the things I can do, let me turn on my pan automation, make sure that's turned on here. And then what I could do is if I just option click on whatever it is where I want to move this tracker, it's going to go to that spot, right? If I start at the beginning, and let's just turn on automation for this track, you can see I can option click, and now it's set. Option click here. Let's see. That's my front, back. Oh, I don't want it. That's why it's not working. Sorry, I'm on the wrong control. Left, right. Let's try that. Yeah, there it is. Again, let me reset my automation. I was distracted by the dog. My bad. I'll set this to none right now so we won't even see it. And again, if I just option click on something, you will see that it'll set the panner in that position. If I move back, move my playhead back and option click again, it's going to move right there. It just moved my tracker to that position. And if I were to look, let's open up my panner, and if I were to look at my left, right, you'll see that it's already setting those keyframes for me. So you can do this. You can even do it live and adjust and drag your tracker around during playback as well and record that. If visuals are more important than watching a panner or doing things by Etch-a-Sketch, you can totally do that now. So I'll just put this tiny bit on. And at this point, like I said, I'll just option click. And again. So I'm just putting myself a rough curve. And like I said, just so I can show you that it can be done. And there. So I'm just going to go that far. But as you can see, there is my left, right, and my up, down, and both of those happened because I was manually just option clicking or alt clicking right there on the screen, moving this along. And I'm still getting that nice movement. So that is our auto pan. And like I said, very much worth playing around with. But there's more. Let's jump into a couple of our other really cool things. Obviously, we still have transcription. That is excellent. Let's look at, we have our immersive formats. Let's look at exclusive solo. This one's not a huge deal, but it's just one of those things we added in DaVinci Resolve now, which is the ability to solo individual tracks. Instead of having all of these soloed, you can go up here and turn on exclusive solo. And that way I can now, I can only solo one track at a time. You can shortcut that as well if you wanted to only hear that particular item. Something else that's useful is let's jump over to, let's see, I'm going to jump out of these and I'm going to just show you a couple things that we have for managing tracks now, because that's awesome. Let's go into, this is just an interview clip. But this is something that people have kind of struggled with for a while, is when you're working, and this will work whether you're an editor and you're working on the edit page or if you're working in audio, is that I have an interview clip here. Let me just open that interview clip up. I'll do that here. I have an interview clip. As you can see, someone talking. So I'm going to come over to the Fairlight page. Now, this is just the camera mic. And so you hear the guy asking the questions, but he's going to be off screen the whole time. The regular sound, not so great. And it's not something I necessarily want to work with. But what I want to point out to in DaVinci 19.1 and 19, if you select a clip and you come over to the Inspector File menu, this will show you the sound that is included with a clip. Right here, audio configuration. So this shows me that there's stereo audio that is included with this clip. And I can choose whether I want to keep it or not. Okay, so I can also choose to just uncheck that and it will then not include that with my clip if I edit the clip in. If I check it, one of the brand new things you can do with 19.1 is that if I select either channel of the stereo, I have individual level control. So I can say, you know what, this one channel is a little bit too low. I can bring it up. Or if one of them is way too hot, I can bring it down or even mute it so that I won't hear it at all. And so these are all options that you have when you're working with these files. The sound I have here, this particular sound, this is the sound that was recorded with the interview that has multiple channels. And as you can see over here in my audio configuration, we have this shows it's 4 channels. Right now it's set to 4 separate mono channels. So if I were to edit this to the timeline, I would get 4 separate audio tracks. Each one is a different channel. Okay, but that may or may not be what I want. Let's go back and look at this again. This lets me listen to a composite of each of those, or I could select one like the boom and listen only to that boom if I wanted to by scrubbing on that one. I can also raise or lower the level. Right now, look at that. I'm raising or lowering the level of just that one channel if needed, right? And I can go through and I can, like I said, I could choose to mute it and check this out. Right here, it's set up to 4-channel mono, but I could also say, is this LCRS because it's 4 channels? Do I want it to be an adaptive 4-channel? Do I want it to, what is it that I actually want here? Now, for this particular example, I'm just going to show you, I could even go in and customize it and say, how do I want to set this up? I've got my 2 mixed channels, my boom, and I have Chris. How do I want to work with those? And I can choose all of that stuff right now prior to ever editing it into the timeline. I can also choose these 2 tracks and I can right click this and say, I want to auto sync them together because they go together, auto sync. And I'm going to sync by waveform. And I do not want the audio that comes, I'm just going to, I don't need to keep the embedded audio. I'm just going to, I can choose metadata that comes with either. So I can keep both audio that included with a clip or not. That's entirely up to me. And retain my embedded audio or not. And then I'm going to sync this. And I just did my sync, and now it's only the 4 channels that I wanted, and it did not include the extra stereo, but it did sync them for me based on time code. So if I select this and I edit this into a timeline, I'm now going to get the video track plus the sound I actually want. I could have included the originals or not. That was a choice that I had. Now, to take this a little bit further, to show you another thing that's super cool, this gave me 4 separate mono channels. I'm going to unlink these for a minute, and I'm going to delete some of these tracks. Delete tracks. And once I deleted tracks, here's something that is brand new that's super cool is let's just randomly split this clip up into pieces. There we go, as if this were cut, right? And one of the things that new is because this is a mono track, I can still access all those other channels that live in this. So if I come over here to the file menu, I can see all of the different channels if I wanted to, because they were all still part of the same file. So if I go to audio channel, notice that it's still showing me my different audio channels that belong with that clip. So I could switch this right now to something different after the fact, after it's already been edited. Now I'm right clicking and drilling into a menu. I can also just hold down the command key on a Mac, control key on a PC. And look at that, I can choose, there's my boom. And this one, I actually wanted the Chris Love. And this one I wanted to be, Chris's Love as well. And so I could go through at any time and change which ones I want. So that is kind of huge. That's something people have been asking for. So yes, all of those features we can totally do now built right inside of, what we've got. So those are easy access and fairly cool things that we can work with. I know I'm almost out of time, so I'm just going to show 2 more things, and Woody, you can yell at me if I'm going too long. Just wanted to point out a piece of music because let me turn off my timer. I think we have a little bit of time. We're going to be coming into questions here shortly. But I wanted to point out, this is just a piece of music, so audio only at this moment. When I'm dealing with something that's audio only, I have the ability to go into my workspace, Fairlight Viewer, and I could just turn off this video area to save space. And I'm playing this back. And this particular song was a 7-1 mix of some music. And we decided, hey, let's mix this in Dolby Atmos instead. We do have all of those different immersive formats built into DaVinci Resolve Studio. If I go into preference, I'm just going to show you where they live. Video, audio, IO. And here you will see we have ambisonic sound, which is new. We have Dolby Atmos. And of course, we also have things like the Sony WalkMix 360. We have MPEG-H and so on. So we have a lot of different options. You just need to make sure that they are turned on here if you want to enable any of those features that go along with it. So with this piece of music, by just adding a Dolby Atmos bus, a Dolby Atmos master bus to this, then the ability to pan, instead of just a nice 7-1 surround mix or a 5-1 mix, and then you can start having immersive sound. In fact, I'm going to come over here, and this is with the Atmos bus in place. There we go. Let's look at all these different. Okay, there we go. And if I want to see which sounds are panned, if I want to pan anything straight to the as an object, then you can actually see those different objects. And I will just show you in our immersive sound, which we have expanded our immersive tools as well. If I bring up our space view scope, this will show you, the immersive sounds. You can see some things flying around here.
Need you, or else
Nice, right?
I'm gonna lose all my
Now, if I show the beds, that's everything else. This is just the objects that are flying around. And of course, with our immersive sound, you can fly these around and look at them as well. I'm going to switch over to a colored version where all I did was I went through the different types of sound, added color to them, which was easy on the tracks. And I also created groups, mixed groups. So those of you who are used to working in mixed groups where you can select an entire group of things at once that you can then apply information to or do different things as you're panning or busing or whatever you're doing. And our groups is now moved. It used to be something that you had to access through the index, and it was at the bottom of the index. With 19.1, there's our groups living right here, which is great because you can pull that up. And I have created all of these different groups, and I can choose any one of them. Let's say bass, select those, and now I can solo just the bass sounds. And there's shortcuts for all of that as well. So just pointing out, like I said, so many things that you can do from a mixing standpoint and from sound design. And like I said, we have AI and so on. So anyway, so I will open up for questions. I'm going to bring this up for 1 second while we're doing that, just to show you the Space View Scope with everything and all that color, because they cool. All right. All right, Wendy, what do you got for me?
Okay, we got lots, and we're going to go quick. Okay, this is from Lee. Can I migrate a project from DaVinci Resolve Studio 18.6 to 19.1 without issue?
As far as I know, yes. I mean, I haven't seen any issues with that. I have projects that go back further than that. It's always a good idea to save your project, export your project out. Let's just say this one, for example, if you export a project out in its current version, right? They said 18 point, whatever it was, export project, that's going to send that project file out with all the information you need to your desktop or to wherever, email it, send it somewhere. As long as you keep the media, this is all non-destructive. That version that you just exported it's a frozen in time in the version that you just had. And that could be on any device. And then if you want to go ahead and install DaVinci Resolve 19 and try that out, or 19.1, and open up your project in there and see how it works, great. But if there's ever an issue, you can always install the older version, and you can always just import that project back and relink it to the media, and everything's back in order. So.
Okay, so Eric is asking, I've been having trouble with with 19's version of auto ducking in Fairlight on multiple dialogues to duck against multiple music tracks. Are buses able to be ducked by chance?
Yes, good question. So to use buses for ducking, and let me switch projects here for a second. To use a bus for ducking, what you would need to do, and I'm just going to find something that has a couple buses on it, which I do here, is you would do that through the mixer, and you would use our sidechain compression, which has been completely updated for DaVinci Resolve 19. So if I were to open and Dynamics, so let's do Dynamics on my dialogue. Well, let's just pick something. Sorry, I am unprepared for this, but I will show you anyway. Right here. So let's say I've picked a clip that I want to do compression on. Right here, our sidechain lets you choose your source, and it will allow you to choose buses for your source as well. And so that you can, whatever your source is that you're ducking with, you also have the ability to listen to it, to hear what's coming in. Turn that on. You can listen to just what the source is that's feeding it, or put it into action. But it's much more robust than it used to be. And yes, it does allow you to pick anything you need to work with. Okay. Not a great example, but yes, in short.
Okay. Can you show us how you'd separate the page to use 2 or 3 displays?
Oh, okay. So if you're using 2 displays, let's say you mean if you have 2 screens, for example, I'm assuming that's what you're doing. Or let's say 2 screens. Let's see, like with my console here, I have a large TV that I use for the visual feed, and then I have 2 screens. Well, when you're working with multiple screens, very simple. Of course, because of Zoom, I don't have that set up right now. It would be in your workspace menu. And as long as your system is recognizing those screens already and you're able to work with that, when you're on the page, you will have things. There's a dual screen mode right here, dual screen. Once you click into dual screen, it will ask you for that second screen. Is that going to be the interface? And if it is, that's fine. But then you will also have the option of a clean feed, which means the clean feed is where it's going to just give you a full screen visual, like this of your playback that you would be able to look at. And so the way it would split up for audio is the entire timeline. Let me just reset my layout. The entire timeline area, however big or however many tracks you have, it could be up to 2,000. This would be on your main. This would be on your main screen for your interface, along with this menu. And then on your second screen, you will get the monitoring panel and the mixer. Mixer will run all the way across the bottom, as well as the monitoring panel. And then this particular element would be floating, and you can move that wherever you want to or to an additional screen.
Is the music remixer intended mainly for creating temps, or is the result good enough to print?
You know, it's funny, right? Because people could go to battle on things. It's like, I will say that I've used it on some things in a pinch, and it was the finished version, right? We just had to, something was driving everyone crazy. It was just a little bit too much cowbell, right? Or whatever it was. And we had to just pull it down a little bit. And we did. And we did that as we were mixing things out. We were literally in delivery mode. And it was a last minute thing that was bothering people enough that it was either going to be, we got to hold everything up or we're just going to do it. And it worked out great. So.
If you start a project in the free version, can you move it later into the studio version?
Easily. And in fact, there's a lot of people who do so much of their work, or there's entire facilities where almost everyone is on the free version doing all kinds of things. It's just they only have the studio version for where they're doing the 3D visual effects, or they're doing immersive ambisonic sound or something in 360 where they need to have those elements. Or if they're doing a final Dolby Atmos mix, they can do that there. Just like if there's plugins or anything that aren't available, it's not going to affect anything else that you're doing. It's just, you just won't have access. You won't be able to use those particular things.
Okay. All right. So we are out of time. Mary, thank you so much. And make sure to check up on our past meetings, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, whatever that is, and LinkedIn. And a thank you to our partners. At the platinum level, we have AJ Video Systems. Gold level, we have Adobe, Blackmagic Design, OWC, Zeiss, Frame.io. And our silver partners are Isotope by Native Instruments, SGO, Avid, and Synology. And we have lots of supporting media and community partners that help make this happen every month. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Take care, Mary.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.